A very good afternoon to you all. Welcome here to the mini Shebeen. I'm going to be your host, Noktila Ngwenya. And the topic today is the discrimination against international students to practice in South Africa. Today, we're joined by two phenomenal guests, namely Boitumelo Vilagazi, who is a final year LLB student from the University of South Africa. And our second panelist, please bear with me. He has quite a introduction as he has accomplished so much. Firstly, he is the startup owner of Uncle Ernie's Bookstore. He is a self-published author with a literary work titled I Was Never Ready and Many Other Stories, as well as Brilliance of Hope. He's also a poet as well as a blogger and a newsreader on Tax FM. And lastly, he is a BA law student. Please help me welcome Ernest Nyamatsamba. So without further ado, let's get this on the road. So Section 24 and Section 26 of the Legal Practice Act contains the admission requirements for a legal practitioner, namely that one must be a South African citizen or be in possession of a permanent residence in the Republic. They must hold a LLB degree. They must undergo practical vocational training, and lastly, must write the bar exams. In this current instance, if a foreign national has adhered to all of the above, except the first requirement because they are not in possession of a permanent residency, but are in possession of a permit which allows them to live, study, and work in South Africa. Do you think this is a violation of the equality clause in the Constitution? So we're going to start with Boitumelo on this one.
I feel that the limitation, or rather the requirement, is not necessarily a unjustifiable kind of discrimination, because with the legal system, we have to have certain measures in place to make sure that we have legal practitioners who can be easily held accountable. So if we have legal practitioners who do not have the permanent residence permits, then it is easy for them to circumvent the ends of the law if ever there is anything that they need to be held accountable to. So you'll find that maybe this person now is guilty, for instance, or alleged to be a party to a malpractice. Someone who does not have a permanent residence can easily just cross the border and go back to their country of origin, in which case we will not have any means to make sure that we hold them accountable for their actions.
Oh, okay. And then, Ernest, do you have anything to add onto what she has said?
Well, a pleasant good afternoon. Thank you so much for the opportunity. This means a lot to me. But I think for me, when I look at the legal practice, the LPA as a legal instrument, it is in direct violation of the Equality Clause, Section 9 of the Bill of Rights, which circumvents that each and every person who is part and parcel of the borders of South Africa, they are entitled and they are expected to be recipients of the opportunities that are available for like any other person who, like any natural person who is part of the South Africa, between the foreign national and the local South African. Now, if the key aspect of it all, whereby we are told that you should have a permanent residence. If you look at the paperwork that has to be taken into consideration, in particular in reference, I'm directly putting into the conversation the Department of Home Affairs. It takes a very, very long time for me to receive at least a permanent residence or even a temporary residence. Now, we have to understand that if Ms. Boitumelo's submission that the person would return over to their respective countries, that is the reason why there are instruments for extradition. If, let's take, for instance, one particular case, though it is not in relation with the discussion, but we can sit with that there's a regional cooperation between what is called the countries that the person, let's say for instance, if the person would have jumped the border or in quote supposedly flee the country and then they go to Zimbabwe, it's easy. We can extradite him. Even if they can go anywhere, we can extradite him through legal international policies. So I don't understand the mandate, or should I say the school of thought of the student who has finished what's it called, who has finished, who has met the requirements of the LPA to be denied the right, to be denied access to practice just because of paper. We always know what is happening with COVID-19. A lot of government offices are not operating at 100%. So, which is a telltale sign of the weaknesses that are embroiled within the LPA Act in itself, which means it needs to be amended so that it allows and accommodates persons who are not naturally South Africans. Because by the end of the day, what do we need? We need a competent individual who is able to uphold the laws of the territory so that the betterment of the country and the delivery of justice. That's my take.
One of the LPA's mandate is to protect and promote the public interest in relation to rendering of legal services. With regards to foreign nationals who are qualified, do you think that the LPA is satisfying this mandate? We can start with you, Ernest.
Well, with the LPA, it's not delivering that particular mandate based on the fact that the prerequisite that Ernest should have a permanent residence within the territories of South Africa. I choosing to study South African law, it shows that I have the interest of furthering the public interest of the South African who is facing and experiencing injustices from any forms of discipline that I would feel like I should participate in the administering of justice within the particular territory of justice that I feel I am interested in. So therefore, as I wrap up in my submission, the LPA is in contradiction with the basic human rights, meaning that persons like me and everyone who comes from different parts of the country who are aspiring to uphold the public interest of the everyday South African are being disenfranchised.
Boitumelo, do you have anything to add on to that?
You know, this for this part of our debate, it is quite unfortunate because I actually do agree with Ernest. The public interest, we cannot necessarily determine whether a person will be loyal or disloyal simply by having a permit, because there is no objective, neither a subjective test to determine all of that. You understand? So on this one, I actually do agree with Ernest.
Citizens worry that foreign nationals are taking their jobs and the high unemployment is not putting them at ease. So citizens see no reason that the admission requirements should be amended. Boitumelo, do you agree with this argument?
To a certain degree, yes. If we take a look at things like our local township economy, you can see that it is mostly now dominated by foreign nationals. And if you look at restaurants, who do they prefer to hire? Foreign nationals. You look at the logistics industry, transportation, who do they hire for all these long trip um, communications and transporting of goods? They hire foreign nationals. Why? Because foreign nationals are more willing to take on a lower salary that even is below. Because if you can check, even the standard minimum wage is actually below what you would normally spend with buying your usual household groceries, let's say for 2 to 3 people. The minimum wage is less than the basic basket of groceries. But foreign nationals are mostly more welcoming of a even less salary, that as long as they have a job that they can feed themselves and just continue, they are fine. You find that in the locations, because they are normally renting, so they would have maybe a couple, maybe 3 to 4 different people sharing a room just to accommodate themselves at a maybe lower cost, as compared to South Africans who would be maybe renting out a big the same room, but now this person stays alone, and all of those costs are paid by one person, as compared to foreign nationals who can stay in the same amount of room and split maybe 1,000 rand amongst 5 people. So I do
Just
agree that there is not really a need to amend it entirely, but yeah.
okay, not a problem. So just to touch on what you said, you mentioned that just to summarize your argument, you basically said that foreign nationals are more willing to take on jobs that pay less compared to South Africans. So do you see the unwillingness? What I'm basically getting at is someone must do that job. So do you see it as taking jobs, yet South Africans don't want to do these jobs that pay way less that foreign nationals are actually willing to do? Is that taking someone else's job, or is that just taking or getting a job?
No, what I'm saying is, let's say Ernest and I go to, let's say for instance, just for this example, we go to maybe um a shop in town. We are looking for a job. Both of us are looking for a job. And let's say farming, in the farming industry. We are in the farming industry, and I'm going there and I'm saying, look, I'm looking for a job, and the whoever ubaswa khona athi kimi, they would say, no, I can only give you 1,500 rands. That is on its own below the minimum wage prescribed for farmers, for farm workers rather. And I say, no, I can't take that amount of money. That is below my skill. That is below what is prescribed for this type of work. But when Ernest gets there and they're like, we'll give you 1,000 rand, Ernest says, yeah, sure, I'll take the job as long as I have the job. Ernest doesn't necessarily worry about accommodation, because he might be staying in a place and there's maybe 3 of them and they are splitting the costs there.
Ernest, do you have anything to add on to what Boitumelo has said? Ernest, can
Well,
you hear me?
yeah, I do. But the thing is, it's not based on the fact that as an individual, yes, I do agree on the aspect of most of my homies who are from different parts of the continent are aspiring to live a comfortable, an affordable, bearable life within the bounds of South Africa, meaning that there is a gross inequality, or should I say, inflation within the job market, in particular the value. But by the end of the day, if we are to look at into it, what we are absolutely like, what we are outrightly, without even beating about the bush, is to be given the opportunity of pursuing what each and every South African is accorded. Now, basing on the fact that at times most of these firms, most of these corporations, I will not know. Some of them, yes, obviously, admitting there are some who have nefarious activities of of devaluing them the skills that one would have. But by the end of the day, we need to understand the times that we are in. We have to put into the factor that COVID-19, coupled with the mismanagement of the economy, it has resulted in many, or should I say most firms, not to perform with their heads just above the water. So if now we are in the option of expecting to be paid the full salary, basing and understanding the environment we are in, are we not being unrealistic? Are we not depriving the economy's potential to grow by withholding the necessary skills that can further the companies to produce profit, and that profit is used to sustain the next South African who needs that 350 grand or the NSFAS funding. So we need to think critically around those areas in the decisions that we make.
Valid argument you have made. So we've come to the end of our debate. I'd like to say thank you all very much for your time and your efforts.